is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God!
Tonight's main event, a tag team match.
Yes!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast, the podcast where we review every segment of Raw and give you the wrestling news of the week. My name is Turbo Tony and we're here with the voluptuous, sexy, one and only Matt Marsander.
The voluptuous?
Yeah.
I haven't had nearly enough plastic as a WWE diva to be called voluptuous.
You don't want a pair of Nikki Bella boobs, no?
Or the Big E breast size.
The Big E breast size. The size E's, that's it. How are you doing this week, Matt?
Very good. It's good turning out yourself.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I remembered to ask you this week. Just so
yeah,
there you are.
Care about my well-being.
Thanks, guys, for catching the podcast this week. And we've got a good show for you here this week. This is the go-home show to Extreme Rules, which kind of crept up on us very quickly. I thought
it was next weekend.
Yeah, I thought there was another week added on. And that goes into some of our review as well, as we go along there. I have watched a absolute shit ton of wrestling this week. I have watched not only TNA Impact this week, I watched TNA Sacrifice as well. So I've watched in total 6 hours of TNA.
Jesus.
Yeah, quite a bit. And I've also watched Raw. So I've watched more TNA than Raw this week.
You're feeling okay though.
Yeah.
You're not gonna jump ship.
When I say watch, I had it in the background while I was looking after my children. It wasn't like I was watching Raw. Yeah. But I was there enough. So I've got a bit of TNA talk for our more TNA inclined fans this week. We do have a decent amount of news to get through. We also have our predictions for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. So that'll be quite interesting there. So the news. We'll get into that as quickly as we can there. A few big, quite a few big and interesting topics here to talk about this week in the news. A few NXT superstars were released this week.
Yep.
Among them was Mason Ryan of former NXT and obviously Nexus, the new Nexus.
Yeah.
I think it's quite weird, actually, that this guy main evented WrestleMania just a couple of weeks. Oh no, wait, that was Batista. I get those two mixed up all the time. That's the joke going around, obviously. I think the problem with Mason Ryan is, for all the time he's been in WWE, he hasn't improved. I think that's pretty much the reason why I go. Will you go under the same sort of... You've watched him more on NXT than I have, so you know more about his wrestling.
He's not even on NXT that much.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those ones where... I know recently they were talking if they're past a certain age, then we may just have to let them go anyway. Yeah. I think Mason Ryan has sort of fallen foul of that one.
The future isn't with Mason Ryan, and his time to make an impact has long been past. So
that's it. It's like, why do we need Mason Ryan when we have Roman Reigns?
Yeah. And the fact is that I think we're coming into a period of WWE now where, Mason Ryan back 20 years ago, coming in as a big guy like that, he probably would have got over as this huge hulking guy, but wrestling isn't like that anymore. Being big doesn't give you a career in wrestling anymore, so you have to be a bit more...
That's it. We're past the time where McMahon would just get a hard-on for anyone who has a 36-inch bicep, sort of thing. It's just sort of like... It's past that now, and it's just like, you don't need to be a big guy, you just need to be good.
Yeah, that's essentially it, yeah. You look at the likes of Bryan. I know these guys have had to fight very hard because of their smaller bodies, but... being a big guy doesn't automatically guarantee you a spot on the roster anymore. So that's the way it goes. And unfortunately, he didn't improve. I think one of the things that damaged Mason Ryan when he did get onto the roster is that they did make him speak Welsh all the time. So people just didn't know what he was saying, therefore couldn't get behind him.
Yeah, we've mentioned that being a problem, like with Natalia. What's I saying, Natalia? It's because she has that sort of.
She has a Russian-sounding name.
She has a very Russian-sounding name. But Lana.
Yeah.
And obviously Rusev.
Yeah, and there's a few other people on the roster they get in, and they can speak perfect English, but they're told to only do their native language or another language or anything, and then people wonder.
Lee, apparently he can speak.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even think that guy can speak Indian. I don't even know.
I don't know. I think apparently he can speak understandably. I understand every word you're saying, rather than just like
They should. It's got to the point now they should run subtitles when that guy's speaking in the ring now.
Oh, that's it. Like the thing with American shows is like the moment you get a subtle hint of accent, they always dump on subtitles. But Raw, nah, Raw doesn't get that.
Nah. They just let you go. Huh? What the hell's going on?
Oh, but it's live. No, it's scripted.
You know what he's gonna say.
That's it.
All right. The next person to get released is Shaul Guerrero. This is the daughter of Vicky Guerrero and obviously Eddie Guerrero. This one was a little bit of a shocker, but I think with Vicky taking a, I mean, she was supposed to be leaving WWE, but I think someone got their,
She was on SmackDown.
someone got their stuff wrong on this, and I was a little bit skeptical of that story anyway, to be honest, because just didn't seem correct. But regardless, she still in the realm of possibility that she may leave WWE soon, but. We'll see. But she's gone from the company. Didn't really see anything of her, really, unfortunately, so can't really make any judgments there from there.
Nothing jumps to mind.
Yeah. Oliver Gray and Danny Burch were also axed. This is a little bit sad for us Brits because they were both British, and Oliver Gray actually did have a match on NXT recently, so yeah. A little bit of a shame with that he actually made an appearance on there recently. He probably was quite hopeful for going forward, and then they decided to axe him anyway. So,
yeah.
I expect more releases in the future, to be honest, because WWE has one hell of a bloated roster, and they've got a lot of guys that
they're starting to get a bloated NXT roster, I've noticed.
Exactly, yeah. There's only so many people they can bring up before they've got a huge Raw roster. And the guys that they bring up at the moment, I think, are interesting enough to be there. But, I mean, they're bringing up a lot of people from NXT. You look at the amount of people on the roster now, and will be coming on the roster, there's a lot. So you can expect a lot of people on Raw that haven't been
you can already name, like, a good few people of, it's more than... you can count them off on your hand, and already you've probably got 10 already.
Yeah.
If you consider, like, you've got Big E, the Shield.
All the Wyatts.
All the Wyatts, 7 already.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of people coming from that, and there's only so many spots on the roster. And listen, the roster was bloated before these guys got on there. So there's a lot of people that just don't get to see the light of. I mean, I know they're on SmackDown, they're on Superstars, so sometimes they may get some sort of spotlight, shall we say? But I think there's a small amount of guys that we think are going to make it, and there's a lot of people on that roster. So I expect more people to be released. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Shame to say, but yeah.
So next bit of news, and it's a very interesting one. It was the quarterly finance call in WWE this week.
Mm-hmm.
With Vince McMahon and other executives. It was revealed that they have lost $8 million on the launch of the WWE Network, which was they didn't seem that panicked about it because it was foreseen, shall we say. It costs a lot of money to get everything like this set up and make sure the launch is successful, and especially as an online service, paying for servers ain't also cheap, you know what I mean, to that many people. And the fact is that they're still hoping to get 1 million subscribers to the network. They're on 600,000 now. Before the end of the year, whether they'll make that or not, we'll see. But I think they will get a lot of.
I reckon they'll get it before the end of the year.
Yeah,
because by that point they'll be going on the international release.
Yeah, a lot of I hear a lot of American podcasts who think that that they won't get many subs from outside of America. I strongly disagree. I think they'll get a lot of subs from other people because it's not as easy to get their WWE fix in other countries. It would be much easier for them to get a network. So I think they will actually get a lot more than WWE think they will.
I mean, especially considering a lot of people even just for the back catalogue alone is pretty much why I'll be getting the network.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
I'll be getting the network
to trying to find matches. Like if you go on YouTube and sort of like try and find matches, it's a real pain to find. And B, when you do find it, half the time it's not available in your country.
Yeah. So.
And it's just like, and you always find little things like that. Or it's like, oh, that was a really great match, I'll watch it. And it's someone who's redone it on a WWE game.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the worst thing as well. When we're trying to find like research on some old matches, the amount of times that you click on something, it's got a picture of the actual match, and it ends up being a WWE 13 or 2K14.
Yeah, just doing WrestleMania, just playing off WrestleMania mode.
You can tell that it is that if you look on. You don't even have to look at the thing. Just look at the likes and dislikes bar. You know if it's a rip-off match because there's so many dislikes. it's a cheap way of getting views, isn't it? I guess it works, but it's no less frustrating. But yeah, and it'd be an easy way for us to go and review old pay-per-views, which is something that we would like to do.
That's it.
And also catch some of the pre-show matches. So I do think, I mean,
I even just want to catch some of the little spin-off ones they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it kind of relates to what you were saying with the NXT releases, but there's talk of the Tough Enough going on the network. But it's not going to be people brought in from outside. It's going to be the NXT guys who don't get a lot of TV time.
Yeah, that was actually my next note, actually. They did announce that Tough Enough would be making a return. And then it was revealed that it's not going to be... I mean, first of all, people were thinking, okay, they're just going to air the old series, which is a good idea, I guess. There's a good amount of television they can put on there. But they're going to be making the new series of Tough Enough, which will be using NXT talent that is not... either made an NXT debut or not regularly used an NXT debut, on there. So people like Oliver Gray, who was axed, may have been eligible for this, but obviously he's not.
Yeah.
Which I don't like, personally. I actually kind of liked it when they had a lot of new guys come in and they tried to, it was almost like, I alwast like that come to Jesus meeting where they realise, wait a minute, this isn't fake shit, this fucking hurts. And the actual realisation between these guys coming into the wrestling business, I know that brought in a lot of guys that hadn't, a lot of people didn't like it because a lot of these wrestlers that spent time in the indies getting to that point. But I mean, it's a reality show, what else do you really want? But that's my thoughts on it anyway. Having these NXT guys in there, these are guys that we know can already wrestle, so what's the point? Which basically we're just going to be allowed to see what happens backstage in the developmental side.
It is going to be a sort of like checking out our performance centre. But...
Yeah. I mean, even the last series of NXT, of Tough Enough, with the one that Austin hosted, which, for my record, by the way, I don't think Austin will be hosting this season. They were guys that weren't actually affiliated with WWE. None of them had a contract, but these guys have already got contracts with WWE, and they're coming in. So
that's it. It's like, what's going to be the actual prize to it?
Or maybe they've realised that doing fake reality TV like Total Divas gets them a lot more exposure and money. And it's easier to. Hey,
we've still got the Miz, so I guess it kind of works.
Yeah, I think that's debatable whether it was worth working or not anyway. I think their biggest acquisition, funny enough, out of the whole Tough Enough thing is actually Josh Matthews. This is a guy that was in Tough Enough, didn't win, and he's been like their broadcaster for how many years now?
Oh yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Sort of forget about Josh Matthews.
Exactly.
But you've also got, who was it? Their concussion specialist.
Oh, Chris Nowinski, yeah. He's not their concussion specialist.
Well, yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? The concussion specialist.
The concussion specialist, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. Yeah, they've had a lot of talent come from Tough Enough, but I remember there was a guy who won like the $1 million one, and he tried to actually genuinely snap Kurt Angle's ankle in the ring, I think, or something along those lines, and like he got huge like heat because obviously he was legitimately fighting Kurt Angle in the middle of the ring, and he didn't seem to realise it's a wrestling show. If you want to do that stuff, go to UFC, which I imagine he did. Yeah, so it's been a mixed bag, probably more bad. And you look at the last season of Tough Enough, which is what we said a while ago, that it's all well and good doing Tough Enough, but the guy who wins it, you really have to give him at least some spot on the roster, and to kind of show, if you win this, you definitely get on the roster. But this guy was never there. He was let go, and so he
took a slap and a stunner, and that was it. And Levine, bye bye.
Exactly, yeah. And people say now that the fact he kind of no-sold the stunner was the reason why he's gone. No, I don't think that is the case. I just don't think that maybe he got on or didn't like the things that went there, or people didn't like him or anything like that. But it just makes it a little bit crappy that to a viewer it's like, well, why would anyone want to win Tough Enough? It's not as if you get on the roster, you know what I mean? So it makes it worthless. It's like winning X Factor and not actually having a career, which the majority of them don't have anyway. So
well, they get a Christmas #1, and that's about it.
Yeah, and then they fall off the face of the planet. So interesting anyway. This actual finance call was a lot shorter than the majority of finance calls that they have, but they didn't reveal actually a few of their numbers and stuff, which I don't know whether they're obliged to do or anything like that, but they didn't anyway. But the interesting thing was obviously the $8 million lost on the WWE Network, which I don't think is too much of an issue. They're going to get that money back over time, and that's what they're hoping to anyway. So,
I mean, it all goes down to the international release.
Yeah, which I believe they'll get a lot of money on, so we'll see how it goes there. Kenta is headed to WWE. The Ring of Honor, he wasn't Ring of Honor, but this, wrestler from Japan, and he was in Ring of Honor as well. Myself and Matt haven't seen much of his wrestling, but we know that he's pretty talented, and him coming over to WWE is quite a big thing. You know what I mean? Another one of these indie guys that come over and could make quite a big impact in WWE. He's got like a very stiff style to him. Lots of kicks and stuff like that.
And that got Punk and Bryan over, so...
exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the sort of wrestling that it seems to be what the current fan base want to watch, so there is a market here for this guy. He has had a few tryouts before, but I don't know whether... It's sort of those things, some people that go to WWE for tryouts and they're desperate to get them. This is one of the guys that he may have tried out, they may have offered him a contract, and you think, I'll go back to Ring of Honor. He's one of those guys, he doesn't mind. But it looks like it is done and dusted. He's coming. So we'll see how this goes. It may be smoke, it may be a full-blown fighter, we don't know yet, but it could be interesting if Kenta makes his way to WWE.
That's it.
WWE is in a little bit of hot water themselves this week. They are in legal issues with their securities violations. Have you heard about this, Matt?
I haven't, no.
It seems that they've had a few violations in terms of their security agreements and everything along those lines, and they are in a bit of trouble with it. WWE haven't made any sort of public announcement regarding this, nor that they would regarding this. They're probably going to try and deal with it in a as subtle way as possible as they can, without raising any alarm to it, but it is interesting, and it's a story that I expect to, over time, and anything that's like a legal battle. WWE has had its fair share of legal battles anyway. I'm sure they'll be fine, but anything that's like a legal battle is going to take quite a few years to get sorted out. Just talking about this sort of thing. This is like a minor thing that might not get dealt with a while. The guy who was involved with the Boston bombings in 2012, I think it was, is only going to court later on this year. That's how slow legal stuff goes through. I know you can't put the same two things together, but that's what I'm saying, that something that serious has taken this long, so you can kind of expect if this is actually an issue, it's probably going to take ages to get any sort of clarification on what's going on.
They'll sort of mention it, and then it's like a few years down the line, oh yeah, do you remember? No, not really.
Yeah,
good.
It's already passed, and any sort of relevance has gone out the window along with that. So that's our wrestling news for the week anyway. There were a few others, but they were the main big ones. As usual, if there's anything that you want to talk about next week, leave us a comment. Or is there anything that you want to talk, leave a comment in regards to what we said about the news stories this week? We'll be quite happy to read them and see what your thoughts are.
That's it.
So, TNA Sacrifice was this week. I know you didn't catch this because you just don't watch TNA, which is
I decided to watch NXT instead.
Yeah, exactly, which is completely fine. We made this agreement ages ago anyway, that you'd watch NXT and I would watch TNA.
I have no problem with this agreement.
Sometimes I feel like I got the short end of the stick more often than not. TNA Sacrifice was as much of a mixed bag as you can get. Some matches were horrific, just awful. That's pretty much all I can say about it.
In a name and shame?
The Bully Ray match was pretty crap. The Willow match that he was involved in was pretty crap as well. The fact is that the problem I have with
Willow and Kurt Angle versus...
Yeah, Rockstar Spud and EC3.
That's it.
That was the match. It was shit. Not worth watching. The thing is with Willow, right, that I don't like, right, is that I've said before I don't like Willow as a character, and I stand by it. And the reason being as well, when he comes out, they reference him as Jeff Hardy's alter ego. So he's not really Willow, he's Jeff Hardy. Just having a bit of a bender and obviously just deciding to wear a mask.
Just Jeff Hardy on a weird one.
Yeah, and like his entire attire is exactly like Jeff Hardy except with the mask on. I don't buy it. I think it's crap. And he's trying way too hard to be this scary character who's uber face. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and that's why I don't like it. However, there were some good matches on this show. I will point out that Gunner versus James Storm was brilliant. A really brutal match between these guys. They had a hell of a good ending spot to it. An I Quit match that was brutal, lots of blood, and there was a spot where Gunner superplexed. You'll like this, Matt. This makes you want to go see the match, and I wouldn't blame you. He superplexes James Storm off of the top turnbuckle.
Yep.
And two chairs are suspending one of the outside ring railings, and he does it onto that. It sounds savage.
Hang on. So I'm thinking,
Two chairs are propping
it up.
So if
you set 2 chairs up...
Yeah, that are propping it up, yeah.
And then you rest the railing over that.
Yeah.
So you'd go through the railing in between the gap of the 2 chairs?
Yep.
That sounds awesome.
It does, and it was. It got a good pop from the crowd. And the ending of this match, which is something you never hear from WWE, Gunner grabs a shard of glass.
There we go. Goes
over to James Storm, asks him if he wants to quit, and then digs it into his head. That's how it finishes, with James Storm shouting, "I quit." Yes. It's been a while since I've seen a brutal match, and I was eating this up. This was really good stuff. And I've got to say here that Gunner, for me, could be one of their guys that could really make them a lot of money, personally, going from there.
Oh, sounds amazing.
It does. It was good.
I'll find it now.
It was good. It was a good match. If you want to see it, like I said, TNA Sacrifice, Gunner versus James Storm, I Quit match. That's my TNA match of the week. In fact, you know what? Considering what happened this week, that's my match of the week overall. There you go, on TNA Sacrifice.
Fair enough.
However, the rest of the show isn't really worth that much. I mean, the Eric Young Magnus was a good wrestling match, but if you're going to watch one match out of that, I would choose Gunner, James Storm. So, did you catch NXT this week?
I did. Yes.
Oh, so what, have you got any talking points from NXT?
I'm guessing it was NXT from this week. I don't know. It was almost got. I've got NXT down on my Skybox to record, and so I'm guessing it's every week, but we get it a little bit different. It was like the only one on there, so I was just like, what's going on here? But it was good. It was just like it was an NXT really.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the Ascension in a tag match, which is always good. I hate Aiden English.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
It's just like the worst type of Damien Sandow, essentially.
Well, there is room for another Damien Sandow now on the roster, considering he's not really playing his own role.
He's Magneto.
We'll get into that on the show anyway.
But you had your main event, which is the main event player, Brodus Clay.
Okay. Who's
now just gone from Raw, going as a monster, like turning into this monster, just like, I'm a main event player. And then tantruming his way all the way back down to NXT.
where he can be on the main event because he is uber main.
Because he main evented NXT.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, man. He's so
main event. Neville. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. So, how did our NXT champion fare, Adrian Neville? Is he impressing you yet? Do you think he's got a future on the roster?
I've been won over by Adrian Neville for a while. He's on New Evan Bourne. We're not getting Evan Bourne back. We're going to get Adrian Neville.
Yeah, and that's fine with us because he's from England. So
that's it. Another Brit.
Yeah, we're a bit biased over here. Anyone that's British, we're going to give an instant buy to, really. So
that's it.
But yeah,
he forgot. No, I'll back him.
The last time I saw him was when he won the belt from Bo Dallas, and I thought that guy's got a lot of stuff to him. You know, he could do a lot of stuff in that ring, and he's not exactly the most sleek guy anyway. He's pretty built for a guy that can do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a future for him. Like, the WWE would look to him and think we can use him in all this different stuff, like Money in the Bank matches. He's basically he was made for that. You know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And before people say it, no, I know that Kofi Kingston can do stuff like that, but the guy is boring. You know, he's been there for ages. He's one of the guys that I think that.
When was the last time we actually saw Kofi Kingston?
I don't know. I don't really care. What's the problem?
Mania.
I don't know. I don't really care. that's all I have to say about Kofi Kingston. If anyone wants to know anyway my views about Kofi Kingston, I did a Let's Talk More Wrestling.
There is a
video. About a couple of months ago now, actually. I keep forgetting now that we're on like episode 23 of the relaunch. It feels like yesterday since we relaunched this damn thing. But yeah, I did an episode of that, basically explaining why he'll never be WWE champion, and I think it was quite extensive, shall we say.
Oh yeah.
So we may as well just go straight into Raw here. We've bellyached long enough about TNA, NXT, all our wrestling news. What people come here for is for our review of every single segment here of Raw, and we'll go into that here right now. So this week's Raw emanated from St. Louis, Missouri. This is the hometown of Randy Orton, you know, so from Evolution. So that's probably one of the reasons why he was wrestling on the main event.
Yeah.
John Cena started up the show. He got a less than friendly response, you know, quite a few boos, which I think, in all fairness, you know, kind of plays into their storyline at this point anyway.
You get boos from Cena anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you always get it. He asked the fans why, Matt, why did they sell him out and put him in a 3-on-1 handicap match.
Because I wanted to see him get hurt.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the reason. If he doesn't realise that, then he's a bit of an idiot. That statement did spawn a lot of "you suck" chants, which I think answered his question quite admirably. He name-dropped lots of future talent in the locker room. Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, and guys from NXT as well, Sami Zayn.
I was quite shocked, actually, that he dropped Xavier Neville and Sami Zayn on the chat.
Yeah. I mean, the theme of them recently, especially with the guys coming up from NXT, as we said, is try and get these guys over. I guess they think that John Cena giving them some endorsement. Normally, I'd say, you don't want endorsement from John Cena. It's going to make the fans go against you. But when you're not even on the roster, just to get your name out there is at least a little bit helpful to these guys. So that's not a problem. But he says Wyatt is a dangerous man. And he is. That's why he's interesting, John Cena. So there you go. We need more dangerous men in WWE to make it a bit more interesting. Then came the most awesome part of Raw this week.
The creepiest.
The creepiest, but the best. Any horror fanatic knows if you got anything that's scary, adding children into the mix makes it twice as scary. That's the horror rule, okay?
That's it. Especially when they start singing.
Yeah, all innocently, like there's no problem. Basically, we get a choir singing out "He got the whole world in his hands." And when obviously the lights came on, you saw that they were all singing. The lights went off, which was weird, and I'll go into this in a second. And when it comes back on, you can see that they're all got the lamb masks on. They're all surrounding the cage.
They're circling the ring at this point, rather than just all up and around on the Titantron.
That's it. John Cena looks like he's completely crushed by this, that all of his most valuable children have been taken by Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, not the children. Who else will cheer for me?
The creepiest kid, however, has to be the one that was sitting on Bray Wyatt's lap and just looking into the camera with his lamb mask. Quite cool. Wyatt didn't have to say a word here, and he didn't. He just laughed, which was, he didn't have to say anything. The visual itself was fantastic. So they did very, very well here. And I thought this was a brilliant segment. One of which, as I just said, Wyatt didn't have to say anything for this to be a brilliant segment, but it still was.
Just had to be there.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it builds up this fact that Bray Wyatt is taking the fans away from Cena and, all this stuff. That seems to be what they're playing with now. I personally would have liked this like a month ago, building up to WrestleMania to make that a bigger match, but they want to make more of it.
Yeah, but I think with the fact that Cena went over at Mania, it wouldn't have gone for something like that. No,
exactly. You're completely right. But I'm still thinking that Cena shouldn't have gone over at Mania anyway. That's just
yes, I'm in complete agreement with you there.
So there was no more really involving these two on Raw, and I didn't think there needed to be. There's been a lot of interaction between these two, building up to the WrestleMania match, and obviously towards this match as well.
It was just a case of just like let it sink in. And then
that's it. And they replayed the segment tons over the 3 hours, which just got really. It was a great segment, but I don't need to see it 8 times. Really, I don't. I know it's.
That's it.
Well,
it was the fact that it's like, oh, welcome back from the break. Guess what just happened? We'll just show you it all again.
Yeah.
And it's not even a segment. It was like the whole damn thing. Earlier on tonight, the whole thing again.
You think if they were to take away all those segments and put them onto matches, we would have like an extra star added onto all the quality of the matches.
We'd be back to a 2-hour Raw.
Yeah, exactly. The issue with this is that the reason why they're doing all these cutbacks is because they want people who are watching it in America. It's not meant for us guys in England or any other country. For the guys that are watching in America, they want to catch people who are channel swapping, and they're like, oh, what happened there? And it keeps them onto the show. That's why they're trying to do it. But for people like us, and for people that, majority of people, I think,
Well, I understand the need to catch the channel hoppers, but just like, for everyone who's not channel hopping, who are actually tuning in to watch, and they're just like, we know.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw it.
It becomes really excessive. This actual segment was replayed, I think, 3 times over the course of it, and other segments from the show were replayed also. So it does get a little bit much, and it seems like to me that they are struggling for content to fill those 3 hours at times. When they've got wrestling matches, they could fill it up with.
That's it.
But I think that's a conversation for another time anyway.
Yeah.
The first match of the night was the Usos versus Ryback, the tag title match. I thought this would be at the pay-per-view. I thought
it was planned to be at the pay-per-view.
So no, apparently not. Both these teams don't have any match at the pay-per-view now. which boggles me really.
But because I was pretty certain that the pre-show was going to be the tag team title match.
Yeah. But
actually, last I heard, it was the pre-show.
No, it's not anymore. We'll go into what is the pre-show later, which will be an interesting
Great.
conversation.
Can't wait for it.
This match was decent enough. It was all right, actually. This match, it was of good quality.
They played well on the injured part of it.
Well,
they played onto it pretty well.
One thing I liked about this match is at least Ryback and Axel have been working on their tag team wrestling. There's a little bit of that in there, so I've got to give them props for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're doing these double moves and everything. It's good. I like it.
And they've been a team for long enough. I'm pretty sure by now they know how to do a tag match.
Yeah, they've been beaten so often they had to try something at least. But the Usos retain as you would expect. And but like I said, the placement of the match is a bit off. It just seems like WWE don't think the tag titles are pay-per-view worthy anymore. They were on the pre-show of WrestleMania, and they were on Elimination Chamber. That's when the Usos failed to win the belts at Elimination Chamber, and then they ended up winning on Raw. So a lot of the stuff on the matches, the big matches, that the actual tag title matches that involve the Usos recently have been really oddly placed. You've got pay-per-views where you can do them, but they just not.
It's almost like they just don't want to give. It's not the titles. They don't want to give the titles the chance. They don't want to give the Usos the chance.
Well, I know you think that because you're a big Usos fan. I don't know. I think it's just the titles, personally. That's my personal view. I just think that they don't think that an Usos Ryback match people will tune to watch it, and to a point, I can kind of see where they're coming from. But no one's going to watch it until they educate people that could be a good match to watch, and that's what they haven't done. The Usos are more than capable of having a 5-star match. We know that. Ryback's, I think that's one of the things as well. Maybe they are right because Ryback's have been booked as jobbers. The only match they won recently was against the Brotherhood to get this match. So, really, did anyone really think they were going to win the belts? No.
That was almost more of a storyline match that the Brotherhood are sort of breaking up.
Yeah, that's it. Paul Heyman was backstage. No, he wasn't because I'm skipping forward a little bit here. Oh well. Paul Heyman will be backstage. It was revealed anyway that Adam Rose will be debuting next week. It was actually referenced by Michael Cole as being so, and on the video package. So we won't get any more of these, express promos, which they've been kind of recycling for a while.
His arrival had better be fucking amazing because I'm really bored of the videos.
You should. I expect it to be something interesting, I should say. I'm going to hold out my cards until I see.
I want Leo Kruger. I don't want Adam Rose.
See, I hear that a lot of people didn't like Leo Kruger, and a lot of people hired Adam Rose. So you're one of the minority in here. So let's see the gimmick and all its glory, and then we'll see how it goes from there. They could end up doing it just as badly as they did with Xavier Woods coming in. But they just said nothing about Bo Dallas that I caught this week.
No, there was a video.
There was a video, but they didn't announce him being debuting.
Oh no, there wasn't a debut.
Do I expect him to debut? He could do. I think they'll probably end up doing the same as they did. He
lost a match on NXT to Big E. Stipulation to Big E was win, gets number one contender of the NXT title, lose, leave NXT.
Yeah, so I mean he's gone from NXT, so he's got to be coming up soon. You know what I mean?
That's it.
So I don't think you can wait another month and keep running those vignettes. So I think you've got to bring him in next week, and I do expect him to. So expect him to be debuting the day after Extreme Rules. So Paul Heyman, what's going wrong with me there today?
I've had a good day for you today.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's because I had way too much sleep last night. I'm used to doing this on no sleep. Oh well. Paul Heyman is backstage with Cesaro. He's saying that RVD got under his skin, but RVD was also right. He makes a reference to the fact that, we've said this before, that Heyman comes across as an uber heel manager. He is unethical, but he's honesty in his dishonesty. He's never said that he's not a liar, thief, scoundrel, and we like that about his character.
Oh, that's it.
So he did that here.
I didn't hate Paul Heyman this week.
No, not this segment anyway. This was more of the stuff that we find interesting. And he did go more over the Brock Lesnar stuff, but he kind of changed up a little bit later on in the night. But yeah, this is the stuff that I find Paul Heyman best at. As long as he's interacting and talking about Cesaro, then that's his point of being his manager. While Brock Lesnar's not there, it's not his job to remind us that of what Brock Lesnar has done. That's Brock Lesnar's job, in my opinion.
But what has Brock Lesnar done, Tony? What has he done?
He had a poo today in the toilet.
Did he?
I imagine
but
he
what
did,
did he
unless
do?
he's got serious bowel problems, which I heard that apparently he had surgery on once. So.
But
Good.
what did he do?
He had a poo yesterday.
But his client, what did he do?
He didn't do that on his client, I can tell you that much. You're not going to get out of me, Matt, no.
Damn it. I could try.
We've resorted to potty humour. Okay, moving on. So yeah, this is more of the Paul Heyman that we like, and like I said, the more he interacts and actually is part of Cesaro, then the more better for him. Because as we said last week, his association with Cesaro so far has done damage to Cesaro, not helped him, and that's not what we thought would happen with
Especially
Heyman.
last week. It was ridiculous.
That was probably the worst we've seen Paul Heyman in quite a few months. Sheamus against Titus O'Hill. Titus does what I think is a brilliant heel thing, something that you don't see a lot often, and he attacks the guy during his entrance. We never see this anymore, really. A guy being attacked during his entrance. However, this means nothing because Sheamus rallied and beat him in quick fashion. I've got a problem with this. Yeah, I get it. You want to make Sheamus seem strong. A lot of people don't beat him and everything. That's fine.
That's it. And you want to make Titus O'Hill look heel.
Yeah. But how is he supposed to? I mean, if you're gonna, this match in itself was pointless, and I tell you why. Because if you're trying to get Titus O'Hill over as a heel,
yep,
then you make him win this match by cheating. That's what heels do. And the face is supposed to be like, dang nabbit, he got me, But I can beat him one-on-one. I just need to get the chance to beat him one-on-one. That's what heels and faces do. If the heel comes out and attacks him,
it's like, oh, I've gained the advantage. Yeah. Oh, I lost anyway.
Yeah.
No advantage. Never mind.
It paints the heel in a horrendous fashion. Now, even if he cheats, he can't win. So what's the point? What's the point in him being there? So, the whole sort of thing around Titus O'Hill, his heel turn has been abysmal. He's come off really bad. So yeah, and it makes Sheamus it came off almost like Cena was. It doesn't matter what you do against this guy, you're never going to get one over on him. You know what I mean? It just seems like a bit of crap. Sheamus is actually one of the pre-show panel guys. He got no spot on the roster for the actual pay-per-view, so he's actually going to be on the panel for the pay-per-view. If that means anything, that might be interesting at least. I find his mic work to be dubious at best. Dolph Ziggler introduced our guest of the week, Hugh Jackman.
And he did.
Mr. Wolverine himself.
That was good. The thing is, it was a point like this where it's just like, I forget how good Dolph actually is on the mic.
It seemed like he doesn't get obviously a lot of time on the mic, and in his interviews outside of WWE, he says a lot of the time that he never gets a mic in front of him. He was on A+ form this week. He was fantastic, very very funny. But when obviously Hugh Jackman came down, he was plugging the new X-Men movie, which does look, by the way, very good. I'm actually excited to see that movie.
Hey, Peter Dinklage is in it. I'm watching it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was quite shocked to see him in it.
For one actor, I will watch it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, especially the X-Men series. I find is good because, as you know, I'm a big fan of David Hayter, and he wrote the first 2 X-Men movies, which were the good ones. The last one was a bit sketchy.
I quite liked First Class.
First Class?
Is it First Class? The more recent one.
Oh no, that one I liked as well.
Fassbender.
Yeah. The kind of the hash reboot sort of thing. Yeah. No, I like that one, but so I'm a big fan of the X-Men series, so it should be good. Go from there. They actually showed footage on when Jackman was last on Raw, and I cannot believe it was 4 years ago.
Scary to think, isn't it?
I thought it was a lot sooner than that. Personally, I was quite shocked to see that I thought it was a couple of years ago tops that he was there, but
but no, 4 years ago was the year of special hosts.
Yeah. So a long time ago, anyway. So yeah, I absolutely, as you said, Ziggler here was brilliant. He made an absolutely awesome quote about Jackman punching him. He said that Swagger kicked him much harder than that. That game.
I loved that. I was just like, oh.
However, during this little fun reunion that these guys had over last time,
and then we saw someone who we saw great things in.
Yeah. Magneto makes his debut,
and a strong, bright future. We thought he'd do well.
He was the chosen one.
We hoped he would do well, and now he's been reduced to this.
Now he is what I like to call Santino Marella 2.0. essentially.
Yeah.
He's devolved into the comedy form now, comedy role. And he came out as Magneto in like the worst looking suit. It looked like that jumper was was a jumper that he had hashed over an old Christmas jumper and tried to make it looking into Magneto or something.
Yeah.
He
Poor Sandow.
attempted to defeat them with his power of magnetism. I guess him having superior intelligence has gone out the window now. Because
That's it. I'm greater than you, not because of my mental, like my mental prowess, but just for the simple fact I can manipulate metal.
yeah, it's just really well, this guy's whole gimmick was the fact that his intelligence, that apparently he had counseled several U.S. Senators and stuff like that. Really, no, sorry, that's just done. So yeah, basically this deteriorated into Jackman giving Magneto the Wolverine hip toss, his finishing move. Why not? Could be a way that you could sell it. Despite all of this, despite all the awkwardness, there was a lot of awkwardness once Magneto got into the ring, shall we say? Despite all the crap that's going on with Sandow. Ziggler.
The thing is, the crowd were really behind the whole thing.
They were,
and then suddenly Sandow turned up, and it just died.
Because Ziggler was brilliant, I would take this promo over the Michael Strahan promo in terms of just really awkward celebrity promos. I'd take this promo any day over that. That was horrific, the Michael Strahan stuff. This was at least interesting because of Ziggler mainly. Would you agree, or would you?
Ziggler saved it, yes.
Yeah. Would you take this over the Michael Strahan shit? Which we reviewed on the first episode of Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's a tough one. What? How about we ask the listeners, what would you pick? If you had to watch something over again right now, someone put a gun to your head. I just pulled a hypothetical gun on your head.
Kosher Butcher.
You take Kosher Butcher, yeah. Okay.
I'll take Kosher Butcher.
Everyone take Kosher Butcher. But for our viewers, you don't have a Kosher Butcher choice. Either this segment or the Michael Strahan segment. Pick which one you'd rather watch again. For me, I would much rather rub my balls against a cactus than watch that.
I honestly have no memory of the Strahan segment.
Good for you, because
I think I've purged that one from my mind.
It haunts my dreams. Maybe your mind is so numb from it, how bad it was.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or it might be the fact that only 2 hours ago I watched the Magneto moment.
Yeah,
so that's just the current, that's the horror.
It's seared into your brain.
Through.
So, moving on from that anyway, sidestepping. Cesaro against Jack Swagger, yet another match that I thought they were saving for the pay-per-view. I thought the whole point of them breaking up was that they would have the big, clash match at the pay-per-view, and that's, how you...
Oh, and now we're having a hash match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. In more ways than one, shall we say. Quite good use of words there, man.
That's it.
So this match was, it wasn't really meant to be anything much. Paul Heyman came out before the match. He dropped his usual stuff about Lesnar, then promised not to say anything. He did drop the whole knock knock, who's there, my client.
Hey, the knock knock joke was gold.
Yeah, it was. The thing is, though, it was already on meme sites before then, so I'd seen it already before.
Oh yeah, I know, but it's just like the fact you see meme sites afterwards, like, oh my god, Paul Heyman used my joke.
I'm sure that maybe he did see it. Maybe he saw it and then thought, oh, that'd be quite funny. I'll use it, but no one's going to be like, oh, give the credit to this guy, because they're not going to. But kudos on the guy that came up with that anyway. Yeah, then he said he wasn't going to say anything more about Brock Lesnar, and then he started on about Cesaro, and I've got no problem about him doing this spiel. If it's annoying, that's fine, but as long as it's about the guy he's currently managing, and that's Cesaro, so I've got no problem with him going on about Cesaro winning his match at WrestleMania. Heyman grabbed the fabled Coulter mustache, which sounds like some sort of Game of Thrones fantasy item.
Yeah.
The Coulter mustache of greatness. And after all this, Cesaro gets the victory. Very quick, very over, just done. That's sort of it. And obviously that isn't the blow off to this feud. It's going to continue for a reason that shouldn't really be around. But we'll get into that as it happens.
That's it. That's later.
Throughout the show, there was several small cuts to Kane's mask, which was in like a glass case backstage.
Locked away in
Apparently.
office.
Yeah, as we know, nothing's. If they're going to be cutting it to that often, something's going to happen, and we knew that it would. But I actually kind of like that. I thought it was pretty cool. Cody Rhodes went 1-on-1 against Alberto Del Rio. Yet again, another very quick match. Didn't really last that long. It wasn't bad.
It was very much a trend of the night. Quick matches, wasn't it?
There was no outstanding match really on the show, unfortunately. Which is why I gave my match of the week to Gunner and James Storm. So Del Rio got the win with a cross-arm breaker as Goldust comes in to try and console his brother after a crushing loss. Cody Rhodes pushes him off, and I'm thinking to myself, it wasn't Goldust's problem, It wasn't Goldust's reason that you lost the match. So, but it looks like this is what I think is a bit odd. When I thought these two would be breaking up, and we knew it would happen eventually, I thought Goldust would be the one going heel because you'd have the younger brother being face and rising up against it and coming out a bigger face at the end of the program, and Goldust run off into the sunset after having a great year with WWE.
That's it.
But it looks like Cody's going to be the one going heel. So that could be quite interesting. They could do the switcheroo. They could have Goldust turning on Cody eventually after all this. I thought you were my brother, but you kept throwing me away and you kept treating me wrong. And he turns on Cody. But it does look like Cody's the one going heel. And while I don't particularly agree with it, I think he's a lot better. He's not as bad off as a heel as a lot of faces are. Some people go heel.
I think Cody's more capable of doing bitter heel.
Yeah, he's done it
where
before.
Obviously Goldust is weird heel.
Yeah, I mean he's wrestled at WrestleMania as a heel. And he's been a heel a lot of his career. I think he can do either to the same degree. So it's not like him leaving one side and going over to one that he can't do that well. So. I think we'll be fine off if he does go heel. But the split will happen soon. They're not going to do a Shield on these guys. The reason why they kept the Shield together is because they realised that the Shield was suddenly getting really, really big face responses, so they wanted to keep that up for a lot longer before breaking them up.
We want to bring back Evolution. So who can they fight? Oh, how convenient.
They have like the Shield basically have a long line of people that want to work with them at this point. So, they're getting through them and then they'll break up eventually and go on their merry way. But these guys are on a one-way train to Splitsville, shall we say. So you can expect a match in a program between those two eventually. They're going to put more matches where these guys are going to be at loggerheads with each other and then it'll finally bust up. So, Rusev was on a one-on-one match with Xavier Woods, and we've seen enough Rusev-Xavier Woods match to know exactly how much chance Woods has of beating Rusev, and that's
he got a drop kick in.
Oh, wow!
Don't forget about that. There was a drop kick.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Yeah, that was the extent of his offense during this match. As he was going to lock in the accolade after pretty much annihilating Woods.
He hit one slam.
Yeah, but even that looks like it annihilated him, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
They haven't booked Woods to be a guy that is even like...
Go Stevie Richards.
If he were in a match against Heath Slater, I'd bank on Heath Slater. That's how competitive they made Woods seem so far.
Okay.
So essentially he locks in the accolade before Rusev can get the win. Truth comes in for the DQ, which I thought was quite odd for a face to be doing. But I get it, that's fine.
It makes sense with the whole sort of protecting his protege sort of thing.
Yeah, but the match hadn't even finished, so Rusev wasn't being very heel, he was just finishing the match, even though he dominated his opponent, but that's not his fault though. Xavier Woods is pretty shit, to be honest. So they came in, did they basically both attacked him. Once Woods had cleared the ring with R-Truth, he felt more than happy to be saying to Rusev to get back into the ring. He just comes off like such a pussy. He really does. Just gets absolutely demolished by Rusev and then suddenly gets all confidence as soon as R-Truth's in there to have a 2-on-1. It seems very they've got the face and heel roles a bit wrong on this one anyway. But I expect that Rusev would just run over these guys when the time comes.
That's it.
And
not too far away.
Let's just hope that he can be pushed as a monster a lot better than what their recent track record has been. The likes of Ryback and Tensai. That picture you sent me was quite alarming. So
that's it. It's true.
I mean, look at all the monsters that they had, the monster heel potential that they have on their roster, and who's really come good. No one.
Let's try to quickly find out who was in the image. So you had Ryback, Tensai, and then you had Kozlov.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people like to compare Rusev to Kozlov. I think that Rusev's a better wrestler than Kozlov any day of the week.
Yeah, easily.
So I don't think you can really compare them that much. I think there's more.
He was still a failed monster heel push.
And let's face it, if he's shit, then he's got Lana, and I don't mind looking at Lana. She's quite a nice woman to
Lana
look
could
at.
essentially save his character if all goes
tits up,
wrong,
literally.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with Lana, if all goes tits up. RVD was interviewed backstage. Zeb Coulter called for a truce between them to have a come together, so they could join forces and destroy Paul Heyman and Cesaro. RVD tells him no, essentially. Just goes, I don't need anyone telling me what I need to do, and then walks off. Which kind of was like a precursor to him being wedged into a match that doesn't need to be there at Extreme Rules now. But we'll go into more of that in the match that followed, because he was in the not the main event, but he was in the finals of the IC title tournament.
That's it.
Later on in the night
with bed and breakfast.
B&B, yeah.
That's it. It's the moment he went B&B, I was in stitches. I was like, that's such a British thing. With bed and breakfast. Like, oh no.
I imagine Mr. Barrett loves him some sausages, so he loves his old full English breakfast.
That's it.
Stephanie McMahon, anyway. No, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself again, but probably because I wanted to. 3MB win against Matadores.
You didn't have to mention this one.
Yeah, I do, because I'm interested to see what you're saying. Because, like I said, sometimes we do a few matches and a few segments that I'm just really interested to see what you'll see about them.
You don't have to mention anything involving Los Matadores.
So let's talk about this match in great detail. So I made the note here, and I'd like you to reply to this, okay? When these guys look back on their careers, okay, and they realise that the reason that they were on television was to help get over a match between Hornswoggle and El Torito, I'm convinced they're going to need depression medication.
I can pretty much agree with that. But we're the proper wrestlers. Why don't we get the pre-show? No, we're going to give it to the little people. We want to stick the midgets in the ring and so everyone can laugh.
Yeah, that's the issue with this, right? I have a little bit of a penchant for little people wrestling, as you call them. I don't have an issue with these guys having a match at all, and that's actually not the problem. They could probably have a good match, but the problem is that WWE is treating it like a comedy thing. Like, oh, look, it's so funny. Look at these guys wrestling, isn't it great? That's what makes it laughable.
Be a star. Don't pick on anyone because they're different. Look at the little people.
That's the problem, yeah.
And he's dressed as a bull.
It's so funny.
It's the purple wedding all over again.
Oh dear. So 3MB got the win here in a really close match. It was really awesome. This is my match of the week. Yeah.
No,
sorry.
Not buying.
Couldn't sell it enough. I need to get Dolph Ziggler on that, really, to sell that match, really.
That's it.
And they announced the WeLC match at Extreme Rules. The WeLC... Just let that sink in for a moment.
I know.
Take it in.
I don't want to.
The WeLC match.
I'm glad I can't get the pre-show over here in the UK.
Exactly.
Then I don't have to see it.
And if they think this is the reason why people are going to buy the network, they are sorely mistaken.
Think you're missing out on some great content? Check out this midget wrestling. Woo!
And not good midget wrestling at that. So.
Torito can wrestle.
No, but what I mean is that WWE aren't exactly going to. Like I said, these guys could probably have a decent match. I'm not saying that they can't, and it's just silly that they would even have a match. I'm not saying that, but WWE are treating it that way, so it will be that way. That's the problem, with them. And WWE wonder why we don't take them seriously sometimes. When we look at wrestlers and just don't really buy their gimmick, and they wonder why doesn't this stick? It's because you pull shit like this, WWE.
That's it.
Yeah. Steph McMahon, anyway, came out and gave a heartfelt apology, really from the heart on this one, about the attack to Daniel Bryan. Out came Bryan in a neck brace with Brie Bella. And as we said last week, you can expect Brie to be heavily involved in all the storylines with Daniel Bryan going forward now. In fact, she's pretty much integral to the storyline that's going on now. Without her, I know that there's rivalry between Kane and Daniel Bryan, but she's been hugely involved in this storyline.
Oh, now, yeah.
Yeah, especially this week, more so. So, you know, Steph is saying, sorry, I'm sorry for all this happening. One of the things that she does to try and make it up to them is that she gives Brie an immediate Divas title match.
There was one part of that promo, actually, that I really... When did they try drown Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking.
Was that on
SmackDown?
I didn't see it.
It must have been.
But that sounds dark.
It sounds like there's something that they wouldn't do on WWE television.
That's it. Like, you tried to drown me. It's like, what?
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed a bit odd. I don't know if I saw that. If anyone could shed any light on that, leave a comment and I'll check it out. But that seemed a bit odd. I thought they probably would have made reference to the fact that he got the beating on Raw, you know, because that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, that did catch me as well. So that was a bit odd. But yeah, so she gave Brie a Divas title match, and you know that match starts right away. In the match, which never really meant...
Of course it started right away, because guess what? Brie was in her ring gear.
Yeah.
What a surprise!
Just very coincidental, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Oh, it's a good thing you got your boots on.
So, yeah, the match itself wasn't really a match. It didn't last long enough to be a match between you two.
Hey, we got a superplex.
Yeah, we got a superplex, but yeah. So, which is a calling card of Paige. She does like to use those that superplex every now and then, which is good. Maybe it will get these girls to take better bumps every now and then, because you can imagine that being done on like on Eva Marie. She wouldn't know how to sell that. She'd probably break her back doing it. But that's
someone who I haven't seen in a while. That's the industry.
Yeah, that's the industry she works in. So maybe she should learn to land such moves, or any moves for that fact. Actually,
yeah. No more skipping around in circles. That fucking day just gone.
So. Yeah, Kane comes out of the ring and he bursts out of the ring and attempts to drag Brie into hell. Do you like that?
Yeah.
Demonic enough?
Well,
yeah.
It's a hell.
Which sparked the brilliant Kayfabe News article, which was the location of hell was found underneath the WWE ring, which I thought was quite funny.
Well, then it was conveniently missed out section of like, oh my god, because Stephanie's like, oh, it's all locked away in my office, no one's gonna get the mask. Cut to ad break. What's that? It's empty. Oh,
my wife came out with my wife came out with the best segment. She was like, it's missing, you should better get Scooby-Doo on that. I thought that was brilliant. Why? There's some people that need to be just on a comedy on that, and I was just waiting for King to be saying something along those lines. But obviously, this is a serious storyline, so they wouldn't be saying anything like that. As serious as you can take someone trying to drag someone under the ring and them calling it really hell. But there we go.
Yeah.
So in this match anyway, so as she's being dragged to hell, Brian's trying to take her, trying to attack her. Sorry, not his wife. He's trying to attack
her.
He's teaming up with Kane, reforming Team Hell No to batter his wife. That would be quite odd, wouldn't it? No, he attacks Kane and he sells his neck injury quite well when he gets slammed down. He's checking himself, make sure he's okay on his neck and everything. Then go back on the attack and eventually gets Brie away from Kane and they go back. The one thing I will say about this. 3 tombstones is a lot of damage to be done, and for him to just come back straight away, it's almost like this storyline needs another week. I mean, 3 tombstones, in my eyes, would be enough to write someone on television for a couple of months. For him just to return the week after...
my head hurts, and I can't move my neck, but I'm cleared to wrestle on Sunday, really.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, I get it. They want to make Kane seem like a monster, but we said to him that was a good start. This week wasn't as much. It just seemed a bit... meh to me, but they've done as good of a job as they can, considering they tore his character to pieces over the last couple of months. The whole Kane character, yeah, with Candy Cane, as we like to call him. We don't like to call him Corporate Kane, we call him Candy Cane. So yeah, then backstage, to kind of end the segment anyway, Brian's been checked over while Brie is shaking with fear, because she was almost dragged to hell. How would you get back from hell, I wonder?
I don't know.
Yeah. She then tells Steph that she's a bitch, which I thought with the delivery
with the worst bit of Divas acting ever.
It was horrendous the way that she delivered this line. It's still got a huge pop, so that's a.
But they could do someone called Stephanie a bitch, and that's enough to get a pop. But
yeah. I
It was
thought
like the worst diva acting ever.
it was like there was there was gaps in it. I mean, I can actually give a little criticism on this to this because I studied drama when I was in school and in college, so I know a bit about drama. That was horrendous. That was really bad, the way that she did that. But let's face it, she's got room for fucking out because, like I said, as you said there, Matt, you tell Steph she's a bitch, and then you're gonna get a pop from it regardless. So, but Steph is still doing this fake face bullshit, which I don't like. I'd much rather her being maniacally laughing, going, "Ha ha ha! You're getting destroyed by my monster." I would much.
I love
prefer
that. Might want to rephrase that. But it's just like you've got.
Now who's dragging this podcast into the...
Yes. Now who's going to the gutter now. The only problem is that nobody's even mentioned the fact that Stephanie was the one that released Kane in this form.
Well, she did reference that in her promo.
I feel really bad for it. It's like, you did it. You're the fault. It's like, yeah, but I didn't think it'd be... It's Kane. Like, you're trying to sell Kane as this monster, and it's like, oh... Maybe if I just give him his mask back, he'll just be corporate Kane with a tie. It's like,
come up with the mask, but still with his suit. Yeah, why
that's
not?
it. And it's like, no.
I find it funny as well that the mask seems to be like the power to his like the secret to his power. It's like
that's it.
Undertaker's
without the like Taker's urn, Kane's mask. Like the moment you just take the mask off of him, he's back to being Glenn again.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I lost control of myself. Stick it back on again. It's like, I will destroy you.
Do you think he has some creepy sex using that mask? Maybe now I'm really dragging this into the gutter. There you go.
Yeah.
We've officially got there, ladies and gentlemen. Leave your comment if you think that would happen. Now I'm dragging our viewers into the gutter as well. This is what we do at the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. So,
going along with the Daniel Bryan promo, if I'm going down, you're coming down.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yeah. So moving swiftly on, John Cena had an interview backstage, and this is exactly the reason why people do not like John Cena. He suddenly has like a moment of light. He finally realizes.
2 hours ago, I was shitting a brick at the thought of Bray Wyatt taking the entire WWE universe, all the little kids. Oh, that was terrifying. But I'm John Cena.
he's suddenly all those problems when he's asking people why did you do this to me? Why did you put me in this match? And asking all these heartfelt questions. He just pops out of it and he's like, with a big smile, he's like, I know they're not against me. I realise we're having fun out there. And it's like, what? Where did you get this from? They were all chanting, "You suck." Where did you get this from?
That's it.
I'm sure that Cena's got Cena character has got some sort of mental problem where he kind of hears what he wants to hear, sort of thing, and he just thinks every week.
The one thing I disagree with, he has his own locker room.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Now I hear actually that he doesn't have his own locker room. They just do that for the sake of this, but we'll see how. I don't know how it works.
That's it. For the sake of storyline, Cena has an office.
Yeah, his own office, which I guess would make sense, really, considering Vince McMahon would like him to wrestle in bubble wrap. They don't want that guy hurt, really, do they? No. So he in his promo, right? He starts randomly talking about a donkey, which I had no understanding of why.
I don't know where he was going with the donkey.
Yeah. I expected the punchline to be like, "Oh, but you're the ass," or something like that, He'd be like, "Oh, John Cena, well done." But he never really did anything. It was just a random donkey reference for no reason.
Right at the end, he's with a fist to her face and a foot up his ass, and I was just like, "You're going to kick a donkey? You inhumane son of a bitch!"
I have a better question for you. He says he's going to put his fist in his face and his foot up his ass, right?
Yeah.
John Cena must be a fucking contortionist. How the fuck can you do that?
Yeah, that must be a really awkward... Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you legitimately do that? That's going to hurt Cena more than Wyatt if he does that, surely. Maybe he's taken a lot of circus
dislocation. That's DDP yoga.
That's it. DDP yoga can give you the ability to put your fist in someone's face and their foot up their ass. But yeah, so I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, this whole sort of segment with Cena just kind of reminds you that they can't just let him be scared. They have to have him be, but I know they're behind me, and it's just like, It's annoying. He's going to go into he's going to go into Extreme Rules, and he's going to be fighting for the WWE universe, and he's going to get booed to shit. You know what I mean?
But the only problem is he's got to stay strong because he had some Make-A-Wish kids in the crowd.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'll be weak. It's like,
They have to give him at least that, to kind of make it. I don't know. I'm for his Make-A-Wish stuff, by the way, with John Cena. I think he's a stand-up guy. I think John Cena, the guy, is a workaholic who really does love the business.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing. Like, we've never had a problem with John Cena as a guy outside of the ring.
Yeah, I think he's a stand-up guy. I really do. I think like the stuff that he does for the Make-A-Wish kids is phenomenal. There's a lot of unneeded flights, and a lot of not unneeded but unnecessary flights that he needs to take. A lot of time out of his personal life that he goes and does these things. He doesn't do this on WWE's time a lot of the time. He does this on his own. So that's something.
John time. Yeah.
They've got a lot of props to that. All of our issues with John Cena is his character and the one that he portrays on TV and the way that WWE push him. And this is exactly the reason why. He just comes out after all this and just says, I know they're behind me. Well, really? Did you get one person tweet you that says this? Did you ignore the 20,000 tweets that say that you're a prick? You know what I mean? Like, I know you mean. Like, it's just kind of. I want to know where he suddenly got this. This beam of light that came down upon him and told him everything was going to be fine. It seemed to come out of nowhere after, or what he'd just seen. More importantly, as well. But there we go. So the finals. Yeah. Go on.
No, that's true. We were talking about the whole. I don't remember a time where Daniel Bryan got stuck his head in a bottle of water.
Mm.
In a bottle of water, in a bucket of water.
Yeah.
It was during the attack when Triple H attacked him when he was handcuffed.
Really? I never saw that.
Nor would I. But I've literally just been shown it.
Very odd. Okay.
It happened.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go back and look at that. I honestly did not see that. But the finals of the IC tournament were Barrett against RVD. Now, we said last week that we expect Barrett to win this match, and he did. This match, he did before this match appear on his quite phallic pedestal.
Yep.
And it was a promo that he's kind of done on that pedestal majority of the time. As you said, he said that he was going to win the match. RVD wasn't going to. It was going to be BNB. So that's where our British bed and breakfast jokes are coming from.
That's it.
Then he comes down. Obviously, has the match with RVD, which wasn't as good as the last two matches he's had, in my opinion. This is probably the weakest of the ones that he's had in the tournament. He gets the distraction from Cesaro and then uses the bullhammer to pin RVD. He goes off. Obviously, he's going off to go face I was about to say Langston, but he's dropped that name now. Big E for the title.
Yep.
Which is fair enough. You expect the face to be going against the heel. So that's fine. But RVD, you'd think, okay, there's nothing for him now. Nope. Apparently, he's now in a match between Cesaro and Swagger in a triple threat match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't understand this.
They really just pushed this and rushed it into. I mean,
I can sort of, if given the time, I can sort of take a step back and go, okay, so it's because he said no to Swagger, not Swagger. He said no to Coulter, so Coulter's not too happy with him. But then he also has beef with Heyman, so because of all previous days in ECW. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
But does it make more sense than having just having Swagger against Cesaro at the pay-per-view? I don't think it does.
I'd rather just Swagger Cesaro.
Yeah, you got these two guys that were a tag team with each other. You've got two managers who hate each other, and you have a clash against the two. It makes sense after their breakup at WrestleMania, but then you stick RVD in there, and suddenly it's like, well, why? What is the point?
What was the purpose? Yeah.
And what do you get out of winning this match? It's not a grudge match anymore because that's already been done. So what's the point? And that is the problem with this match. I'm not excited for it. I will probably just. For once, I actually want to see the Divas match at the pay-per-view, so this is probably going to be my piss break match. So, hopefully it's not the opener. So, backstage, we had a shaky cam promo from The Shield.
We did.
They talked about Evolution wearing their suits and riding their limousines. They use it to make themselves feel stronger, but The Shield are true power. It was good stuff from these guys. I do enjoy them. It's not as good as the Wyatt promos when they do the same thing, but they're still interesting nonetheless.
I mean, it's always good when you got like Ambrose starts off, and then he just disappears off into the background where you just see him punching a wall because he's a weirdo.
Because he's just a little bit unhinged. So I'm glad they do reference him as being a little bit off. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's fine.
Off.
I do like that.
Not straight up crazy, just a little bit off.
Not bonkers, but yeah, I get you. So yeah, good promo. I don't think he did anything to sell the thing. I think all the selling of their match against Evolution came on the actual main event that happened afterwards. But still, that's fine. It was interesting nonetheless. So let's get into that main event anyway. Orton in his hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. With a one-on-one against Roman Reigns. Before the match, however, just before it starts off, Ric Flair comes down. Mr. Woo himself. So he comes down. Styling and profiling, yeah, as he does. I was quite surprised that he didn't elbow drop his jacket, which he always seems to do. Every now and then.
Like, oh, Rick's gone crazy, but it's Ric Flair. We'll let it slide.
Yeah, let it slide. Yeah. He was talking about his days in Evolution, about them wearing, going out on the town and getting girls and drinking and all that lot. And he looked like he was going to give his praise to Evolution, but then he did it to the Shield. I actually thought that Flair's promo here was pretty awkward. I didn't like it that much, to be honest. And it was like when he actually finished it,
serve much of a purpose.
Nah, when he left the ring, it was like, okay, that happened, and then the match started. It was no big pop to end it, and then he left. It was just, okay, he's done, he's gone.
Yep,
cool. He didn't even say anything. I think even the commentators referenced the fact that he didn't really say anything. He just left, which seemed really odd. So either bad booking or just bad delivery by Flair. One for what it matters, though. I'm glad he's not part of Evolution during this stint, because you could say in this anyway that he outstayed his welcome in this promo, which I know that a lot of people would agree with me. One being Mick Foley would agree with me on that.
It pains me to say it though.
Because do you know the whole thing? Do you know the reason why I'm saying this? I guess this flew over your head a little bit.
Oh no, yeah, that's gone over my head. It just pains me to say that like Flair overstayed his welcome. Like I'd love Flair, and it's like, but at first it's like I'll just go away.
I've been a little bit off Flair recently, I must be honest, because at the WrestleMania weekend he was on a panel with a few other wrestlers and Mick Foley, and when he was talking, Ric Flair told him straight as face that Foley outstayed his welcome in wrestling business. So yeah.
Fair enough.
This is a guy who had the perfect send-off at WrestleMania and decided to go back and wrestling for TNA, outstaying his welcome. Look in the mirror first a bit, Rick. Come on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, a little bit sour taste in my mouth when it comes to Flair. Flair will go down as one of the greats, but in his old age, I see him more, and I don't want to see him as much around at the moment. That's what I'm kind of getting to.
But considering he's almost solely responsible for the loss of JR.
Yeah, that was mainly down to him as well, the fact that he didn't reel it in, and JR still says to this day that it was his fault for not reining it in, but could you really rein in Ric Flair when he was like that? I don't think you could. I think also part of that was WWE's fault, because you booked the guy just after his son died. Of course he was going to talk about his son dying, so I think it's not just that whole debacle. I don't think it's just Ric Flair's fault. I think that's also WWE's for booking the guy.
It was a terrible situation.
Yeah, it was a bad situation. I think that's the best about it. I mean, JR to this day holds his hands up and takes full blame for that whole thing. I think he's a champ for doing so. He didn't have to, and I don't think he needed to. I didn't think it was his fault personally, but there we go from there. So this match itself, as the majority of matches on Raw, didn't really get started. They had a few moves, and then it came to a clusterfuck between these guys, which I have to give praise to the Shield. When they do go to clusterfuck mode, at least it's entertaining. They do moves that are pretty much like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. To watch these guys go into clusterfuck mode. So, yeah, and it basically ends from there. The Shield clear the ring after getting initially beat down by Evolution, and the show goes off the air. Because obviously even though they've got a WWE title match on the show, this is the main event. Shield against Evolution. This is what they've been building to as the main event.
Extreme Rules,
yeah. So, overall, I thought this was a pretty bad go-home show.
I'd say quite weak.
Yeah, to Extreme Rules. And Extreme Rules, for me, the card looks extremely poor when you stack it up to the likes of WrestleMania. Obviously, any card against WrestleMania should be poorer, but this is a hell of a lot poorer than WrestleMania. If you actually take the Shield and Evolution out, there isn't much on here I want to see.
Cage match.
Yeah, that could be interesting. But
Well, I think it's just going to be Mania again in a cage.
Yeah, essentially. I don't think
Just with less taunting with weapons.
Yeah,
because they can't get at them.
And we're going to our predictions later on about that match. But I think that the actual card for Extreme Rules is really weak, really really weak. And they could have done a few things to make it seem a little bit more interesting, but they decided to go a different route, and I don't think it helps. And that's the issue here. Is there anything else you want to say about this week's Raw before we go onto the onto the predictions for the pay-per-view?
No,
I think we covered it all.
As
we do every week in great detail for you guys. So let's get to our predictions. You're handling the predictions as you do pretty much every single pay-per-view that comes up. So we know the pre-show, so we may as well go with that. The pre-show being... I wanted you to say it. There you go. Go on, explain. What's the pre-show, Matt? Tell us.
It's Hornswoggle versus El Torito.
Give us your prediction. Who do you think is going to win the match?
I don't care.
You don't care. You got to pick one, man. You got to pick one.
I don't care. See, what is a WLC match? Is there an actual stipulation to it?
I get the feeling they're going to have like these tiny ladders and tiny chairs come out, and they're going to be like, "Oh, look at them! They're on tiny little chairs."
Oh, it's so cute. It's all to scale.
I wouldn't put
Torito.
Yeah, that's my pick. I think that if there was to be a face and heel in all of this, then Torito would be the face. So.
Oh yeah,
get him to go over, and I expect this to be the first of 3 pay-per-view matches between the guys, and the last one to be a tiny little Hell in a Cell match to end the bloodbath between these two.
Really?
No, of course not.
It's just just imagining it is just terrifying.
Yeah, they have a rivalry all the way up to Hell in a Cell,
That's it. So we're both on Torito.
Yeah, Torito. I believe Torito will win. So yeah, next one.
Well, this is just how WWE website has put it up. So we have the triple threat match,
which is
RVD, Swagger, and Cesaro.
Okay, I'm predicting RVD to win, and the reason being is why would you interject him into this match if you weren't going to make him win? I just don't see a point. A lot of people say, well, Cesaro would win. But I don't see him winning this match. I just think they're going to go RVD because they may have RVD pin Swagger, so Cesaro doesn't even get pinned or anything along those lines. I just don't think that you'd have RVD in a match. You wouldn't you got to look at a simple match. You don't have a face in a match with 2 heels. The 2 heels not teaming up against each other. They actually don't like each other, and have one of the heels win. You have the face win.
Yeah, and I can't agree with you more.
Yeah. So you're with the same.
Simply enough, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, two faces and two heels and a face. But then it's also, I guess it just goes with the storyline a bit more. I mean, it makes it interesting because then you can have a Cesaro-RVD feud if RVD pins Cesaro.
Yeah, there's a few things you can have going out of this that may be a bit more relevant. But in my opinion, they shouldn't have never had the Swagger Cesaro match. This should have been it. And you have a grudge match between these two. You can even have it as an Extreme Rules match where they want to kill each other. You know what I mean? Because they've broken up and they've got 2 guys telling them to go certain ways. That's how I would have booked it, but they're not doing that.
That's it. Right, I'm going to pretty much guess at your prediction for the next match.
Mm.
Handicap match. R-Truth and Xavier Woods versus Alexander Rusev.
I think Rusev is probably going to put them together and eat them as a sandwich.
Yeah, okay, I can go with that.
Yeah.
It's probably fold them in a rather intricate way. So their legs together make the filling and their bodies are the bread.
Either that or he'll just make a pretzel out of the pair of them.
Or pretzel, yeah.
I think he'll make them into some food substance and consume them.
Okay.
In wrestling terms, which means he'll destroy them and pin, but probably the pair of them. Put one on top of the other and pin them.
Going back to Ryback squash matches way back when.
I don't think they're going to change much how they built Ryback up to how they're going to build Rusev up, personally.
Yeah.
Except they're going to make him beat jobbers on the roster rather than randoms that no one's ever seen before. That's what I think they'll probably end up going to do.
Yeah.
So you can expect him to beat guys like probably, Zack Ryder again. I think he's already beaten him once. He's probably going to beat Woods a bunch of times in his career, because it seems like all that Xavier Woods is good for is plugging the fact that he's got a diploma and getting beaten by Rusev countless times. So, yeah, Rusev all the way, really.
Yeah.
And
WWE Divas Championship match.
Oh, Paige against Snuka.
Yep.
Go on, what do you think?
Paige.
Yeah, same here. They've been trying to build her up as a credible champion. This, for me, is the final step to make her a credible champion.
That's it. If you can beat Tamina, then you're good.
I think
it's to make her a credible champion in the eyes of the regular viewers.
Yeah, we already know that she is, but they and rightly so. They need to educate the general fan base that Paige is a fighter, and she can beat anyone on the roster. And I kind of applaud the way that they've done it. You know, they have to take the slow burn out. They have to make her beat people more convincingly each week to make it seem like this is a person that actually does belong to be Divas champion. Because we know that, and you know anyone that's watched NXT knows that, but the general fans don't. They've never seen her before, so you have to take that into account. So I expect this to be a good match, though. I do. I think they'll give these guys at least some time.
Yeah. Especially considering Tamina's not your stereotypical diva.
No.
She's always since she sort of came back. Like, okay, so before she became the bodyguard to AJ, she was a very dominant diva.
Well, she could throw Paige around the ring, and Paige will sell like $1 million for her. And then Paige will get the comeback win as a face.
That's it.
So I see it being a very well built match. I think it'd be kind of sort of following the lines of the Alicia Fox match, just longer and better that they had.
Yeah.
Where the heel is dominant, and then Paige gets the return and shows everyone that she can beat the dominant diva. That's how I see it going, anyway.
That's it. So following that, the IC title match. So Big E and Bad News.
This is the match that I am the most torn on, because I can see it going either way. My guess is, right, the reason being why I'm torn on this is that you look at Big E the last couple of weeks while the tournament's been going, he's barely been seen on Raw, let alone beating really strong opposition. Whereas Barrett's been made to look like $1 million. He's been beating good guys. He beat Sheamus
that's why
clean.
He's my prediction.
So you're going with Barrett?
Barrett's my prediction, yes. You don't have him, especially considering he's pulled off like match of the nights during the tournament.
I still think they won't take the belt off Big E yet.
You're going Big E.
Yeah.
Cool.
The reason being is I get this feeling that they're not going to go with Barrett yet. If Barrett's going to get a win, it's going to be at a later date. I think they're going to have Big E get the win here. It's going to be clean as well. He's going to get the win. If Barrett gets the win, then obviously he's going to have to cheat. If he beats him clean, then there's not much to him being a heel. I reckon if Barrett's going to win, he needs to cheat. Really.
Okay.
But if he beats him clean as well, I'm not going to argue. He's a Brit. You know what I mean?
That's it.
I've actually started to really like Barrett again. I'm kind of like swallowing his promos.
We definitely sort of just like we hated couldn't care less about anything that Barrett did. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, it's Barrett again. I wish he'd just go.
Well, he had 2 straight matches of the week on this podcast in a row,
and that's enough to win us over.
I think that's the first time we've had
Pickle like that.
I think that's the first time we've had a wrestler win that award on our podcast 2 weeks in a row. So would be very interesting to see if that. I think that match would be pretty good, actually.
That's it.
So,
what we got next? We have the cage match.
Wyatt
Cena.
against Cena. If Wyatt doesn't win, I wonder why the hell they ever put Wyatt in a program with Cena.
Yeah.
So I'm going Wyatt.
You're the same with me then.
Yeah. They have to. They've given Cena the win at Mania. That's the most exposure. So most of the wrestling fans, they're not catching Extreme Rules or anything like that. Or the most of the guys that just catch WrestleMania each year, they still think Cena's the guy who's going to win all the matches. This is the time that you give Wyatt the win, so you can go off to feud with other people, or maybe go for the belt, which I think would be a good contender for the belt, considering he beat Bryan already earlier on in the year. So yeah, I think he wins on this personally. And for all the talk of this cage is going to keep the Wyatt family out, I do expect the Wyatt family to be.
They'll climb in.
I don't think they'll climb in, but I think they might be on the outside stopping Cena from getting out, or they might be at the gate stopping them from getting out. I think it's just a stupid thing to think, the cage, they'll never get them when inside of a cage.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Main event. Well, sub-main
The
event.
title match.
The title match, yeah.
So Kane against Daniel Bryan. It's just, I don't think WWE are going to risk.
And it's an extreme rules match.
Yeah,
that was just randomly dropped on us.
Yeah, a bit randomly. Yeah. Which I don't know. I think these guys have already had a match against each other, just a normal wrestling match, so an Extreme Rules one. I can guess they could probably do some good stuff. And the fact is they're trying to build this up as some sort of like blood feud against these two, so they could do something pretty useful.
Yeah.
But I just don't think WWE are ever going to risk taking the belt off Bryan within a month. I think they would risk fans being like, you're doing the same thing again. You know, you gave us our big payoff, but you're not really giving it to us because you've taken the belt off Bryan. I don't think they're going to take the belt off Bryan yet.
Cool. Same.
Yeah. So Bryan to win.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think so far we're tied except for the IC title match.
Yeah.
Bryan for the win. Same for me.
Okay.
And the real main event.
Shield against Evolution.
That's it.
So go on. I'll see. I want to hear your prediction first.
I can't call it.
You can't call it.
I can't call it. I want to see the Shield win, but I think we're going to get an Evolution win.
Is that what
and it'll carry on.
Is that what you're going with? Yeah.
Yes.
My prediction is the Shield will win, and the reason being, I don't think they're ready to break up the Shield as a face faction yet. I think I think they've got a couple of months left in them as a face faction before they will break up.
Yeah.
And I also get the feeling that I've heard from a few sources, may not be correct, don't know yet, that Batista is actually taking a break after this pay-per-view. So if they're doing that, it makes no sense for Evolution to win and then disband.
The actual release of Heroes of the Galaxy.
Well, that's coming out a little bit later on in the month. That's more like SummerSlam time, but I think so, yeah. But I mean, it doesn't stop him from doing early promo work for the movie.
Yeah.
And you know, he may be on one of those contracts like RVD where he wrestles for a couple of months and goes away for a couple of months. So he's not really part time in that sense. He's like, you know, he's full time and he's nothing. You know what I mean? So I don't see, if that is the case, I don't see Evolution winning than disbanding. It makes no sense. You know, I see them losing and then, okay, we need to throw something else at the Shield because obviously we're not working. So I see the Shield getting the win. I could definitely see Evolution winning though. I don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility.
See, that's why it's quite a tough one.
It is. That's the only reason I think they're not done with the Shield yet. And the minute that they're definitely, I mean, you look at the Shield when they were breaking up when they had it in their plans that they were breaking up as a faction before they changed their mind. They were losing match after match. They were losing all the time almost. You know, building up to, you know, that
Guardians is on July 31st.
So we're getting into that period now, anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
A couple of months beforehand. This is the time that you get your interviews done with set. You know, I mean, these guys go on like on worldwide like interviews to do with the movie and stuff like that. So it could be about that time.
Okay, so I will put myself down on Evolution. You've got Shield.
Yeah, Shield. So we see. I can see it going either way. I'm just going to put my stack behind Shield anyway.
Yeah, so it's two matches that we don't share.
Yeah, interesting. I'll actually have to go back on all our old predictions and see who's winning the tally. Actually, so
that's it. I've jotted it down. Everyone's each of our predictions on this. So,
and it's on saved audio goodness. So it's here for the whole world to see if we're criminally wrong or not. So we'll see from there. But regardless, even though I'm not holding my breath out, it's going to be a good show. I hope it is. Regardless, I think there's potential for some of the matches to be decent. I just think that the overall show is just so weak in comparison to Mania. So we'll see how it goes from there, unfortunately. Is there anything else that you'd like to add for this week? I think we're pretty much done, aren't we?
No, I can't really think of anything else left to say.
Nothing but net. 3-pointer from the outside. We are swished, and then we are out of here. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Let's Talk Wrestling. We hope that you did enjoy it. If you did, why don't you help us out, share the podcast. If you want to leave a like on our video as well, that would be nice, but we would appreciate a share more, and it gets us out to more listeners. If you're new to the podcast, why don't you subscribe right now? Press that subscribe button, and that way you won't miss any episodes of Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. And we do surprise you every now and then with a Let's Talk More Wrestling podcast, which I think you can expect next week for a Extreme Rules review. Will you be up for that, Matt, next week?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Well, free Monday, so we can just do the day after.
wow. Well, you guys will get that
Fresh.
fresh as it can be, like almost like our WrestleMania review, because we did that hours after the actual show finished. We recorded that. So yeah, so you can expect that next week, the actual review of the pay-per-view, which we always seem to find time for each pay-per-view that goes up, and we might have other stuff that goes up for you on a surprise anyway. You don't want to miss those; they can be very entertaining. But apart from that, thanks again, guys, for catching us this week. My name is Turbo Tony. We're here with the, as you said, the voluptuous Marsander, the man who invented Chris Jericho, the internet phenomenon, the man who comes to me on wrestling podcasts. We hope you guys have a great week. We hope you guys enjoy Extreme Rules, and leave a comment if you want to ask us any questions for next week's episode. Apart from that, guys, we're out of here. So
That's it. Right.
bye bye, guys. Have a great week.
Excellent.
Bye.